11 months later, she was on my porch with a suitcase and a coat from Goodwill, as she had told me not to wait. Upon opening the door, Paloma was standing in the hallway behind me. Dominique glanced at her, then at me. The woman who departed from my life as if I were insignificant finally grasped the sensation of nothingness. The night it all began was not expected to be any different than an ordinary Tuesday. The jam in the conveyor belt at the hub around 4 a.m. caused the shift supervisor, me, to send everyone home early, reaching my street at 6:15 instead of 7. That 45 minutes altered everything. An unfamiliar black Audi was parked 2 houses away from mine, not belonging to a neighbor or a delivery van, just a sleek sedan with tinted windows idling on a tranquil residential street before dawn. My heart tightened before my mind could comprehend it. I didn't park in my driveway but waited behind Sal's truck 2 doors down, turned off the engine, and kept vigil for 7 minutes before my front door opened. A man in his mid-30s, wearing a leather jacket and carrying a camera bag, walked confidently towards an Audi, started it, and drove off. After a 10-minute wait, I entered the house. The bed on my side was rumpled, the sheets twisted, and pillows askew. I hadn't slept there since that morning. 2 wine glasses were in the sink. One had lipstick marks. I stood there for about 30 seconds before pouring myself a glass of water, drinking it, and heading to the couch. The following morning unfolded like a well-rehearsed routine. Dominique was already at the counter when I emerged from the shower, coffee ready, smile on her face. She greeted me casually with a kiss, giving no hint of secrets or obligations. That's when I realized this wasn't the first time she had done this smoothly. No hesitation, no unnecessary politeness, and no signs of guilt visible in her eyes. This was a regular occurrence for her. She had done it often enough that it no longer cost her anything. "Long night," I said, offering nothing more. She didn't press further, she didn't need to. To her, I remained the same Emmett, predictable and safe. The man who returned home, drank coffee, inquired about her day, and never questioned the inconsistencies. After 21 years, this was the version of me she had chosen. After she left for work, I sat at the kitchen table and drafted a list on the back of an envelope, facts, not feelings. The list included items like blackout bag, camera bag, 2 glasses, wrinkled sheets, something amiss. Then I drove to Home Depot and purchased a small white motion-activated Ring camera with night vision, costing $63. The cashier asked if I required help with installation, but I assured her that I would manage on my own. That afternoon, I mounted the camera beneath the front eave. The installation took only 11 minutes. The small, white camera resembled every other doorbell camera in the neighborhood, unnoticed by Dominique, who rarely looked up. Over a period of 10 nights, it recorded each visit, always between 1 and 5 a.m., consistently from the same vehicle parked 2 houses away, and always the same man approaching my front door as if he had an appointment. The 4th recording provided the evidence. Dominique stepped onto the porch and kissed him passionately, not a fleeting goodbye but a lingering one, suggesting a history of such affection. The camera's infrared technology left no room for deceit, clearly capturing his face. Stamped at the corner was the timestamp, 17 a.m., a Thursday. I saved all clips onto 2 USB drives, one securely stored in my fireproof safe, the other hidden away in the junk drawer near the front door, unused by Dominique due to its contents of batteries and old receipts. Despite these revelations, life appeared unaffected over the subsequent fortnight. Coffee was still brewed in the morning. "How did your work go today?" Shown by her smile, my response followed. The entire act, yet now I was observing it from afar, like a man standing beyond a pane of glass. She recited her lines flawlessly every day, not the fury that was challenging. Anger is straightforward, guiding you on what to do. The most difficult part was sharing a breakfast table with her, watching her spread butter on her toast, and understanding that for an uncertain duration she had looked me in the eye and told falsehoods without batting them an instant. That requires practice. Sal Medina handed me his phone in the break room one Wednesday. "Here, my wife wants a photographer for her birthday. Is this guy any good? Instagram page, portfolio shots, studio work, headshots." I scrolled past 3 posts and halted. The visage that stood on my porch at 4 a.m. was reflected back from a professional headshot. Gage Holiday, freelance photographer, downtown Memphis. A post displayed a black Audi parked outside a coffee shop. "Ills as my office." Scrolling through, I came across older posts. A woman, dark hair, bright smile. She was his ex-wife. She had liked his latest post 2 weeks ago and hers 3 days prior. They were far from over. A man who continues to like his ex-wife's photos while residing in another man's bed is not constructing anything new. He is merely passing the time. I returned Sal's phone. Yes, it seemed convincing. That evening, I saved a screenshot of her profile, added it to my camera footage. Now I had video, a face, a name, a license plate, and an Instagram account that revealed the impending end for Dominique, though she was unaware. The attorney's office was located on the second floor of a brick building off Poplar, sandwiched between a dentist and a tax preparer. I carried a manila folder. He watched the ring footage on my laptop without uttering a word, just clips, dates, timestamps. The kiss on the porch. I then pushed the real estate documents towards him, purchase agreement from 2 years prior to our wedding, mortgage solely in my name, title bearing a single name mine. He leaned back. The house was premarital, it belonged to me. Unless she could demonstrate extensive joint renovations or refinancing with her name involved, nothing of the sort occurred. Nothing at all. Consequently, the house would be excluded from our separation. He tapped on the laptop screen. The video evidence is circumstantial. It doesn't necessarily prove what happened indoors. However, a man exiting my house at 4 a.m. for 2 consecutive weeks, coupled with my wife kissing me on the porch. If this case went to court, it would be a source of embarrassment for her. It might not improve my financial situation, but people often reach settlements to avoid a judge scrutinizing these types of records in public. That was the strategy. It wasn't a guaranteed victory, but rather a tactical pressure point. Dominique wouldn't engage in a public battle with such incriminating recordings looming overhead. Not due to legal reasons, but because of the potential costs, exposure, and fatigue. After 21 years of marriage, I learned her choice when calculations became complex. The folder stayed in the passenger seat during the drive home. There was one plan, one condition, and an abundance of patience required. Patience proved to be the costliest purchase I ever made. Over the subsequent fortnight, I ceased to reach out, stopped inquiring about her whereabouts, refrained from calling when she returned late, and dined alone for 3 consecutive evenings while her meal remained untouched in the refrigerator. Doming noticed my silence. I could see it in her lingering at the kitchen door, waiting for me to speak or question something. I remained silent. One evening, upon returning from work, I found her already asleep. Her phone lay face up on the nightstand, a notification illuminating the screen. Only an initial and a snippet were visible. Gee, tonight was perfect. See you Thursday. My fists clenched. The urge to seize that phone and hurl it through the bedroom window gripped me, but I held back, hearing the attorney's voice in my head. She'll know what you possess. She'll prepare. Instead, I strolled to the garage, took my seat on the stool by the workbench. The Bronco remained there, hidden under a cover, untouched for more than half a year, not because I lacked the ability to maintain it. Each time I opened that garage door, the same voice, scent, and sound greeted me. Are you going to spend another weekend in here? Consequently, I ceased my visits, of my own accord as if it were my choice. That night, I removed the cover, found a wrench. Began unfastening the bolts on the intake manifold. My hands trembled and the socket continually slipped. Irrelevant. The attorney advised waiting, so I waited, with a wrench in hand instead of my phone. 6 weeks after installing the camera, Dominique led me to the kitchen table. I need time alone, Emmett. I need to discover who I am. Don't hold out for me. She had rehearsed it, and the pauses were perfectly timed. Her eyes held no sadness or guilt, only resolution. A woman who had already prepared to leave, merely delivering the news. 2 days later, she loaded boxes into her car. I bore the heavy items, sealed the final box, placed it in the trunk, and took a step back. She stood by the passenger door, keys in hand, anticipating. For 21 years, I had been the one to say stay, the one to soothe, the one to apologize first, the one to fill the void with something comforting. She anticipated this version of me would appear one last time. It didn't. I wished her safe driving. A look of bewilderment replaced her expression, not quite hurt, but more like puzzlement. The script lacked that line. She got into the car and drove off without a glance back. I watched the rear lights fade at the end of the street. I went inside, verified the safe. The flash drive was still there, checked the junk drawer. The second copy remained untouched, grabbed my phone and dialed the attorney. She left, moved in with him, initiated the legal proceedings. The papers reached Dominique 3 weeks later. She had been residing in Gage's downtown loft, likely believing the challenging part was over. The primary issue was its delivery via certified mail. Upon scrutinizing the property documents, her lawyer observed that the house bought 2 years prior to our marriage held my mortgage and title. There were no significant joint renovations or refinancing. The law of Tennessee deemed it premarital property, hence not subject to division. For the past 21 years, Dominique had lived in this house, cooked in its kitchen, planted hydrangeas by the entrance, and selected paint colors twice. However, none of these matters were reflected on the paperwork. Regardless of her being mine or not, the house was mine before our union and remained so afterwards. Subsequently, my attorney disclosed the ring footage containing various clips with timestamps to reveal the kiss. Within 48 hours, her lawyer contacted mine. The conversation was brief. He counseled Dominique that pursuing the house legally would lead nowhere. The savings and marital assets were up for division. That's where the separation would occur. However, if she persisted and the case reached a judge, those recordings would be included in the court records. As all filings are public, this could potentially complicate matters further. Discovery was made public. A judge witnessed her kissing another man on her husband's porch at 4 in the morning. That too was made public. Dominique sighed. The house remained with me. It never left legally. She received a portion of the shared savings, not insignificant, but not the house or the life she abandoned. The camera did not win me the case. It won me the silence. I replaced the locks first, then painted her bedroom. The sage green she had chosen was covered with 2 coats of warm gray in a single Saturday. I moved her reading chair to the curb. It was taken before sunset. Every weekend, the garage door opened up. The Bronco attracted my attention for the first time in years. New gaskets, fresh wiring harness, and rust sanded down to bare metal were installed. No one informed me about the garage's smell or the noise. Paloma arrived unexpectedly, as good things often do. Her freight dispatch company routed their cargo through our hub. On a particular day, she mentioned, "You seem to be in need of a meal not from a vending machine." We decided to have burgers by the river that Friday. She didn't query about my former partner. 2 individuals who learned that silence could be compassionate. After 8 months, she had a toothbrush at my place. At some stage, I shared the brief account. 21 years married, my wife departed for someone else, divorce finalized. Paloma heard, gave a single nod, and never brought it up since. This told me everything I needed to know about her. Simultaneously, the scenario I'd foreseen unfolded as expected. Gage returned to his ex-wife, the one with the photos he'd never stopped favoriting, the bridge he'd never severed. Dominique was the diversion. She moved from his loft to an apartment on the east side, driving a battered Nissan. The man who doesn't burn bridges will always return to them. In the 8th month, while chopping onions for dinner, my phone buzzed on the counter. It was Dominique's name, the first time since she had signed the papers. "Do we have a chat?" I believe I erred. Paloma was arranging the table in another room at the time. I glanced at the message, placed my phone screen down, and completed chopping the onions. "All well?" she asked. Affirmative response. "Dinner almost ready. In retrospect, that night I typed only one line, 'Speak to your attorney. Our discussions have ended.' Dispatched it, erased the conversation thread. 2 months later, another message arrived. 'I long for the house. I long for us.' No response followed. Then she departed for Holly's with her account. I'd had a woman in my home. I'd arranged the situation. I'd known for quite some time and remained silent. Holly's contacted me. She visited me. Claims you set her up. Drop by. I'll demonstrate something. That evening, the laptop was on the kitchen table, and I initiated playback. Gage walking out of my house at 4:47 a.m., Dominique stepping out behind him. The kiss, date, and timestamp in the corner. Holly's observed 3 clips without interruption. "That's your porch, and that's her." A prolonged silence. "For how long have you possessed this? Since before she departed. Why didn't you disclose it? It wasn't necessary." Until now, he rose from his seat. No grandiose vows. Rather, if queried, "I won't conceal what I witnessed," and he didn't. As mutual acquaintances inquired, Holly's disclosed the footage's findings. The facts spread autonomously. Those who were in the know were already aware. One Tuesday evening, Paloma and I were seated at the table when there was a knock. Dominique stood on the porch, lugging a suitcase, wearing a Goodwill coat, and a Nissan Sentra parked askew in the driveway. I'm finished with him. I wished to return home. I retrieved an envelope and a flash drive from the junk drawer, then placed them on the railing. "That's your copy of the divorce papers, and that's every Thursday from 2 to 5 a.m. in our house. Our bed. Your friend Gage drives a black Audi. I've known since the first week." Her gaze shifted to the flash drive, then back to me. "You were aware, the entire time. I permitted you to depart, because you were going to renounce everything and believe it was your decision." She closed the door once more. No suitcase this time. Needed an old photo box from the garage. Placed it outside. She peeked inside, a wedding picture on top, 21 years old. It was Emmett's. She shut the box, slid into her Sentra, and that was the final encounter, back in the garage. The Bronco waited, polished, rebuilt, placed the key in the ignition, grabbed my phone. Done. She returned for the last box. "Friday, 7 p.m. I'll collect you in the Bronco. First ride." Hanged up. Retrieved Dominique's house keys from the toolbox, stored there for 12 months. 21 years on my palm. Cast them away into the trash near the garage door, climbed into the Bronco, spun the key. The engine roared to life at the first attempt.